Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, sir. I am Dr. Padma Lakshmi, Senior Resident, Department of Plastic Surgery from JIPMA, Pondicherry. My guides are Professor Dr. Devi Prasad Mohapatra, our HOD, Professor Dr. S. Dinesh Kumar, Professor Dr. Friji, and Professor Dr. Ravi Kumar Chitoria, our unit heads. And my mentor is Professor Dr. Lakshmi, ma'am, Professor and Head, Department of Plastic Surgery, Osmania Medical College, Hyderabad. This is the photograph that was given to me for the case presentation, along with some details. Coming to the patient introduction, my patient is a 68-year-old male. I would like to know the name of the patient, occupation, socioeconomic status, address, education, and religion. The history of him being a known diabetes was given to me, but the duration was not given. The patient presented with complaints of ulcer over the nose for the past 2 months. I would like to know how the ulcer started. Was it an ulcer or was it a swelling that ulcerated, and the progress of the lesion? If there was any associated complaints of pain, discharge, bleeding, fever, itching, color change, loss of smell or nasal obstruction. The histories that were given to me was that there was no history of trauma or exposure to radiance or irritants, and there are no history of similar lesions elsewhere in the body. Treatment history, I would like to know the investigations that were done, including if any tissue was taken from the ulcer. The history of a biopsy taken was given. And I would also like to know if there were any medical or surgical treatments received so far for the above mentioned complaints as well as the diabetes mellitus. Apart from the diabetes, I would like to know if the patient has any other comorbidities like hypertension, tuberculosis, cardiac illness, jaundice, hospitalizations, any previous other surgeries or allergies. Personal history, I would want to know about the dietary, bowel and bladder habits, if he has any addictions, socioeconomic status of the patient, and monthly income. I would also inquire about history of any similar illnesses in his family or any other malignancies or other chronic diseases in the family. In general examination, I will examine the built and nutritional status of the patient, attitude, his consciousness level, orientation to time, place, and person, the vitals of the patient, and if any pallor, icterus, cyanosis, clubbing, lymphadenopathy, or edema is present. Coming to local examination, the photograph was a color photograph of an elderly male in left oblique view and a frontal view. On inspection, in the middle 1/3 of the face, a single circular ulcerative lesion of size approximately 2 × 2 centimeter in the left side of the nose, involving the left side wall, dorsum, and left alar subunits. The extent about 2 centimeter from the root of the nose, 2 centimeter from the root of the nose, 0.5 centimeter above the alar margin. The medial extent is reaching up to the midline, 2.5 centimeter above the tip in the midline. The alar rim is not involved. The edges are pigment enriched and margins are defined. The floor is covered by crusted material. So this picture now is, I have drawn the subunits of the nose to show in which subunits the lesion is present. The dried hemorrhagic discharge is noted at one edge of the lesion. There is a field fire appearance of the lesion with the center crusted and periphery active. The surrounding skin, there is no erythema. It appears to be, there is no erythema, and surrounding skin is normal. Multiple small pigmented lesions are noted in the bilateral cheek region. The upper 1/3 of the face is normal and the lower 1/3 of the face is normal. On palpation, I would confirm my inspectory findings, and then I would assess for warmth and tenderness. If there is any bleeding on touch of the ulcer, and I would confirm the base of the ulcer, and the surrounding skin, apart from erythema, I would also check for induration. I would also do an intranasal examination that involves the mucous, that will help me assess if there is any mucosal involvement. I would do a Cottle's test to assess the nasal obstruction and examination of smell. I would also examine the paranasal sinuses, and regional lymph node involvement palpation will be done. Systemic examination, general systemic examination will be done, and donor site I have seen and it is available. Coming to my diagnosis, my patient is a 68-year-old male. He is a known diabetic with a pigmented ulcerative lesion of 2 months duration on the left side of the nose, involving ala, side wall, and dorsum subunits of malignant etiology. With my possible differential diagnosis, my first differential diagnosis is basal cell carcinoma, the second is pigmented squamous cell carcinoma, and the third is malignant melanoma. Can I proceed ahead? So, ma'am.
Is there any other differential diagnosis? Are you aware of any other differential diagnosis?
So the fast progression and the history provided that goes towards malignancy.
No, I'm asking differential diagnosis. That means, whatever are the possibilities, what else can you find?
The
Have
chronic
you
condition.
have you heard Bowen's tumor?
Yes, sir.
Bowen's.
Yes, sir. It's a yes, sir. It's a predisposing malignancy for squamous cell, predisposing lesion of squamous cell carcinoma. Yes, sir.
Can it be actinic keratitis?
Yes, sir. It can be so, but acne keratitis, keratitis with ulcers.
Melanocytic nevus?
So the multiple other small lesions on the sides can be nevus, sir. The side, nevi on the, I mean, sorry, the lesions on the bilateral cheek can be nevi, sir. This could have been.
Can it be sebaceous hyperplasia?
I'm not sure, sir. Sebaceous operation, I'm not sure.
Can it be desmoplastic trichoepithelioma?
I'm sorry, sir. I'm not sure, sir.
So these are actually the differential diagnosis. It
Yes, sir.
can be fibrous papulae also. I mean, when you write, paper,
Yes, sir.
so these all are differential diagnoses which you have to rule out.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Can
Can
I?
you tell me? Can you tell me the from which cell the basal cell carcinoma arises?
Sir, it is from the basal layer of the epidermis that it arises, sir.
That is not sufficient statement. It is from the non-keratizing basal cell layer of the epidermis. Non-keratinizing cells of the basal layer of the epidermis.
Yes,
That
sir.
is the full answer.
Yes, sir.
Because there are keratinizing cells and non-keratinizing cells.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Um, I would like to investigate, sir. I would like to confirm my diagnosis by edge-wedge biopsies. If I consider other malignancies, I would do a metastatic workup, and then I would like to do an, investigations for anesthetic fitness as well. So, possible management according to my diagnosis, because I have three differential diagnoses. I have elucidated a chart for all the three, but because my first diagnosis is basal cell carcinoma, I will describe my plan of management for basal cell carcinoma. So my management plan would be a wide local excision with 0.5 to 1 centimeter margin with frozen section, or if facility is available, I would do a Mohs micrographic assisted excision. The post excision defect would be 3 cross 3 centimeters. It can be the partial thickness or full thickness. So depending on the amount of tissues lost, my reconstruction plan will change. So this is a picture showing the post-excision defect of a partial thickness loss and a full thickness loss. That is the loss of skin, cartilage, and the mucosa.
Before that, can you tell me what is the common sites of basal cell carcinoma?
Yes, sir. The basal cell carcinoma is most commonly seen in a line joining the lobule and angle of the mouth. It is also called as a teardrop cancer because it is seen in the region where the teardrop rolls. So it is seen most commonly in the medial canthus or in the lateral canthus, sir.
And what are the clinical varieties you know of?
Yes, sir. 26 varieties have been described, sir, but the most common one is nodular BCC. The other subtype of nodular BCC is pigmented variant, and the other one is superficial spreading basal cell carcinoma. The other variants are morphiform, sclerosing, infiltrative, basosquamous lesion, and pigmented lesions, sir.
And skip lesions.
And skip lesions, yes, sir.
So you have mentioned about basosquamous. What is the importance of this term?
Yes, sir. The significance of basal cell carcinoma is that it does not metastasize to lymph nodes. But if it is a basosquamous, then the regional lymph nodes might be present as well, sir.
In other words, if it is basosquamous, you have to treat it as squamous.
Squamous cell carcinoma. Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, sir. So my plan of reconstruction, it is a staged reconstruction according to the type of defect, sir. Stage 1 will be reconstruction by the flap. So my defect is 3 cross 3 centimeter on the left side of the nose, as I've described, involving dorsum, left side wall, and left ala, less than 50% of each subunit. So if it is a partial thickness defect, that is, if it is a skin defect with exposed cartilage, then I would do a skin cover with a paramedian forehead flap with primary closure of the donor side. If it is a
How,
full
excuse me, how do you decide the depth of excision or level of excision?
yes, sir.
Then,
We can
then
do,
you can decide about the reconstruction.
yes, sir. Sir, I would like to give a 0.5 centimeter margin of clearance, and when I excise, I would notice the nature of the underlying tissue, sir. We'll be able to differentiate it from normal and malignant tissues, and also I would like to do a on-table frozen section to confirm if the excision is complete.
So it can involve the cartilage. It may not involve the cartilage. It may involve the lining also because central part is ulcerative,
Yes, sir.
and it may not. So it may be skin defect. It may be skin and cartilage. It may be full thickness.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So accordingly you have to tell.
Yes, sir. If it is only a skin defect, then I would like to cover it with a paramedian forehead flap, sir. If it is a skin and cartilage alone, then I would like to use a cart. I would like to take a free cartilage from either the ipsilateral nasal septal cartilage or a post-auricular concave cartilage, and then cover it with a paramedian forehead flap. If it is a full thickness defect, that is the loss of skin, cartilage, and mucosa, then I would use a paramedian forehead flap, and cartilage I would use an ipsilateral nasal septal or cartilage or post-auricular concave cartilage, sir.
But paramedian forehead flap is a two-stage procedure, is it?
Yes, sir. Meaning the first stage would be cover, followed by the second stage of a flap division and insert, sir.
That's what I'm telling. It is two-stage procedure.
Yes, sir.
Can't you manage it in one stage?
Sir, we can do an islanded forehead flap, sir, if it is just a skin cover. But the disadvantage of that, it will obliterate the frontonasal angle. So that is cosmetically, it will not be acceptable if the frontonasal angle is completely obliterated.
If it is an island flap means what? Island on which vessel?
Island the skin paddle of the forehead flap on the based on the supratrochlear vessel, sir, and we'll just we can use it for coverage. So
So
instead of
if
taking the
it is
skin
an
pad,
island, if it is an island flap, you have to tunnel the intervening area, isn't it?
yes, sir.
So where is the deformity of the forehead? You can primarily suture it.
The skin can be closed, sir. In the forehead, we'll be able to close the donor side, sir. But the while tunneling, the disadvantage of the flap is that while tunneling, it will obliterate the frontonasal angle, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So can there be any other single stage procedure of island flap? Are you aware of?
Um,
Where this frontonasal area will be spared?
we can use an islanded nasolabial flap can be islanded as well, sir, to for coverage.
Yes, nasolabial flap you can island.
Yes, sir.
You can use one side nasolabial flap island as lining and other side as cover also.
Yes, sir.
Any other island flap which can reach the angle of mouth to the upper lip to the nose. I'm trying to give you some hint.
I am not sure.
Okay, go on.
Yes, sir. Um, so my cartilage framework, I will use an ipsilateral nasal septal cartilage or post-auricular concave cartilage. And the stage 2 of flap division and inset will be done after 3 weeks of after 3 weeks of the primary surgery. This is my flap marking, so for a partial thickness defect or for a full thickness defect for as a folded forehead flap.
So you will primarily close the forehead.
Donor site, yes, sir.
Why you have kept the pedicle on the right side of the forehead base, right
Yes,
supra.
yes. So compared to the ipsilateral side, the arc of rotation of the contralateral side is much lesser, so it avoids kinking of the pedicle when it comes to that, sir. So when we rotate from the contralateral side, it will be about the angle will be lesser compared to the ipsilateral side. If it is ipsilateral, it will be 180 degrees of rotation.
Agreed. Now, for a newcomer, how will they protect the supratrochlear artery while dissecting from here downwards? How will you protect the supratrochlear artery here? Is there any trick?
So the dissection level, the level of dissection, I mean,
Because once you have raised the flap, you are committed,
yes, sir.
and then if you damage this vessel,
Yes,
then
sir.
the whole procedure will be difficult.
Yes. So that is where the dissection comes into place, or the depth of the dissection. The distal end of the dissection will be in a subcutaneous plane. We can either raise it in a subcutaneous plane, or we can start subgaleally itself and then thin it later. But what we do is we will distally it will be subcutaneous plane, and then once about 2 centimeter from the distal end, we will include the frontalis muscle, and about one finger breadth, 1 to 2 finger breadths above the eyebrow, we will go subperiosteally to include the supratrochlear vessels into the flap, sir. Thereby
So,
assuring
so
no.
you will, so you will incise the periosteum here.
Yes, sir.
True. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. So I have added the steps of the paramedian forehead flap, sir. Can I go ahead and describe it, sir?
Yeah.
Yes. Under general anesthesia, patient is in supine position. The parts are painted and draped. Using anatomical landmarks and conforming with the Doppler, the flap is designed over the supratrochlear vessels. I would use a pattern that is cut from an aluminum foil from the suture pack to match the defect, and I will transpose it to the forehead, thereby planning it in reverse. Tumescent infiltration is given. The incision is started distally. The distal end of the flap is raised in the subcutaneous level. As the flap reaches about 2 to 3 centimeter from the distal end, the frontalis muscle is cut and it is included in the pedicle. As the flap approaches the eyebrow, like I was describing before, undermining takes place. The periosteum is elevated along with the flap to ensure the pedicle is not damaged. So careful undermining with direct visualization should take place so that we don't injure the vessel. Once the flap is raised, it is transposed to the nose and assessed the reach of, and the flap reach is also assessed. Prior to suturing in the place, the flap thickness, like I said, initially we can either raise it subcutaneously or we can raise it subgaleally along with the frontalis. So if we are raised in such a way, or if the thickness is too much, we can thin the flap to fit into the defect. And the donor site of the forehead is closed with if it is coming primarily, then we close it, or we can do subperiosteal undermining, and we can use subcutaneous mattress sutures and close the donor site primarily. And this is a video that I have of a forehead flap. So the defect is measured, and this is showing the edges of the defect with the cartilage and the lining being intact. Now, template using, ideally we do it with an aluminum foil and a gauze piece. He is using glove paper. So it is transposed and now the flap is marked. So initially, it is raised in a dermal plane or subcutaneous plane. once it crosses our flap requirement, then we can cut the frontalis muscle and include the frontalis into the flap. So the flap is elevated, and then the subperiosteal dissection is not shown in this video. So the flap is elevated. If you can see, there is a subcutaneous and the muscle layer here. So it is now transposed to the nasal defect. If you can see here that the the flap is a little larger for the defect. So we'll have to trim it before we suture it. The subcutaneous sutures are placed, and the area is closed primarily. The flap is now sutured to the defect. It is trimmed according to the defect size. This is the post suturing. 3 weeks after the initial surgery, flap division has to be done. The proximal part of the flap has to be returned back so that the eyebrow, the distortion of eyebrow that might happen initially is also cleared. The bleeding is ensured before insert is given. Flap vascularity is checked before a complete insert is given. But before giving an insert, we can thin the flap as well. If it is a little more bulkier, we can thin it. This is a post-operative. The post-operative management will involve suture removal, which is after 5 to 7 days, and the patient is discharged with the following advice: to collect the histopathology report, to decide on further plan of management, and scar care, which includes scar massage and silicone gel or silicone sheet application. The follow-up would be, I would ask the patient to come for a periodic review every month for 3 months, and then every 6 months for a year, and then every year for 5 years to look for any recurrence. This is the possible management according to the other diagnoses that I have added. So.
Dr. Sandeep?
Yeah, very nicely presented. Just a couple of questions I want to ask you. What is when you're actually raising the oblique forehead flap?
Yes, sir.
What is the lowest portion that you're going to actually raise a flap to?
Sir, it can be till the eyebrow level, sir. But if we want to extend the flap more, we can go below the level of the eyebrow. That is the supraorbital ridge. Also, we can go. Yes, sir. Below the supraorbital ridge, also we can extend it, sir. That is by careful dissection and ensuring the pedicle safety, sir.
Fine. So, many times the medial edge of the flap, you can actually dissect it much lower than the lateral edge of the flap, so that the reach of the flap also can be extended. Right. So next thing is that how do you close that? How would you actually, in this particular case, what we are actually having, how do you think you would be able to close the donor site? Most of it you would be able to close primarily on this uppermost portion, that business area of the flap. How you would be able to close it?
Sir, if we can use subperiosteal scoring, or we can use subcutaneous matter sutures for approximation. It's despite of that, if we are having issues, then we can use coronal and supra above the eyebrow incisions, and then we can approximate it to come together and close. If it is a larger area, that is.
Okay, you could actually undermine it quite a bit, and you can actually close it. So now in this particular case, in this particular patient, he was fortunate. I think he was a bald person, and then you were able to go further up. So let's imagine that it's a young person or a lady where she's got a low hairline. How would you actually manage these kind of patients?
Yes, sir. So in these cases, we can either go a little oblique, or we can take it laterally based, or another option is laser epilation of the hair and then bringing it down for closure. We can do laser epilation of the hair in the area.
Yeah, but then these are malignancies. You would laser ablation. How many sittings you would be requiring?
Post-operatively, we can.
Post-operatively. Okay, fine. Is there any other flap that you can think of where you can use it for covering defects of the nose? Especially, let us imagine if the defect was much larger defect.
So in a larger defect, then we can go for washier flap, or scalping. A convex scalping flap can be done. So.
Okay, of this, which one would you prefer?
I would prefer a scalping flap, sir, because the vascularity is much robust compared to.
Can you just briefly describe the scalping flap?
Yes, sir. Incision will be made across the forehead, and it will include the a scalp as well, sir. So it will be like a semicircular incision will be made, so that the opposite side superficial temporal vessels are included. And in the forehead is the part that we are using for reconstruction of the nose. So the flap that is raised is above the frontalis muscle. We take care to raise the flap above the frontalis muscle, and once it has crossed that region, we go subgaleally, and the entire flap is raised, and the flap is tunneled and then brought to the nose. The rest of the area is covered with skin graft. So once after 3 weeks, the skin graft is removed, and the flap is returned back to its flap. Yes.
Very nice. But what are the problems observed with this particular flap?
The appearance for 3 weeks, it is extensive dissection has to be done for such a small defect, and the hair bearing area is again it is brought back to the face. The dissection is done on the hair bearing area, so the appearance for the 3 weeks will be it's not.
Dissection in the hair bearing area is not a big issue, because ultimately what is going to happen is you're going to return the flap back, and then you're not going to see that, because all the incisions in the hair would be inside the hairline and it would not be seen. But the most problematic area thing is that two things. One, when you're actually bringing the flap to the nasal area, for some time you're going to have a big raw area, so you will have to graft it. So you require a much larger graft area, and that lot of graft you'll have to take it off when you're actually returning the flap. Second thing is that permanently you're going to have a large skin graft on the forehead. So it is not going to be a small this one defect. It's going to be a much larger defect, which is difficult to close primarily. You will have to have a thing. So what about washier flap? So in this, what is the problem that you're going to see?
So washier flap is based on the anastomosis between the posterior auricular and the posterior branch of posterior branch of the temporal, superficial temporal artery. Again, the area, the amount of raw area that is created is there. It's similar to the convex scalping flap, and there can be the same advantages. I'm not very sure, but
yeah, these are not commonly done flaps, but then the advantage of washier flap is that you have your entire donor site in a hidden area. Okay, you can actually put a graft there also. Most of that, because it's actually going to be on the posterior aspect of the pinna and the area around that. So graft is not going to be visible.
Yes,
So that is the thing. Sometimes if you're not getting good anastomosis, you might have to delay the flaps. So that is one problem with that, right? Uh, Dr. Lakshmi, you have anything to ask?
Okay, for this defect you have described this flaps. If the total reconstruction, what are the other options?
For total reconstruction, again, we can use the forehead flap, ma'am. It can be used like a seagull type flap where it will reconstruct the ala and the tip also. And microvascular reconstruction can be considered if it is a total nasal reconstruction. We can use a thin pliable flap like a free radial artery forearm flap with the facial artery and vein as the recipient vessels for reconstruction. And the cartilage again can be harvested from the septal cartilage, but if it is not adequate, then we can go for costal cartilages as well, because the amount of cartilage required to reconstruct will be much more when it is a total nasal defect.
Can you consider the free flap for this, these limited small defects also?
Yes, ma'am, it can
The
be.
lining and the cover of this ala defect.
It can be considered, ma'am. If it is, again, it can be folded, and even if it is a small defect, we can still consider it for lining as well as cover. But from what I have read, ma'am, it says when you're putting a cartilage, a much vascular bed is required for the cartilage to take. They are including the microvascular flaps also in the category of being less vascular compared to the forehead flap for a cartilage take. So that is the disadvantage when it comes.
Which is a microsurgical flap that you'll be using?
Free radial artery forearm flaps.
So would you use it for a cover or the lining?
I use it for, I can, if in this case, because it is a small defect, I can fold it and use it for both as well.
Okay. Many times when it is a much larger defect, because normally for small defects, we are not going to use a microsurgical flap. We are going to use it only for much larger defects. So when we are using that, most of the time we use it as a lining rather than as a cover. Okay, and we use it for the lining, and then probably we'll use a oblique forehead flap for the cover. So that is normally how it is used. So like you said, because it's very vascular, the graft take is also very good. Or the cartilages and all take much better with these kind of things. Usually it's done for much larger defects. Yeah.
If there are no microvascular facilities and the patient doesn't want any scar on the forehead and the defect is large, is there any other methods? Old method? Already described.
We can use a the pedicle medial arm, but that adds to the discomfort of the patient. But yeah, the scar is hidden, but it adds to a discomfort of keeping his hand like that. So,
No problem. 3 weeks or 4 weeks positioning is okay, isn't it? What is the name given for that flap?
Tagliacosis medial arm.
Who is the person who first done the forehead flap?
Ma'am, it has been described as ancient as in Sushruta's time, ma'am. But outside India, it was done. Outside India, it was done by Antonio and Branca, but he was hanged for doing it, and because he was going against God's will. So another person called J.C. Carpio is the one who first described it, and he did it on a lot of patients and then published it.
The video which you have shown
Yes, sir.
in this particular case,
Yes, sir.
this defect cannot be reconstructed by the superiorly based nasolabial flap in one stage.
It can be because it is a
Your incision would have been
planned it, no?
your incision would have been in continuity with the defect,
yes, sir.
and just raise it and interpolate or transpose it in one stage.
It
Is
can
it
be
possible
done.
or not?
It
Because
is.
the size of the defect is such that the donor side can be closed primarily.
It can be done, sir. For any defect which is within 3 centimeters, a superiorly based nasolabial flap is also an option, sir.
So if the patient says why 2-stage, why not 1-stage? Why don't you offer that?
Sir, I would go ahead with the forehead flap because of the color match and the skin nature of the skin of the forehead. That is why I would choose.
The nature of the skin adjacent to the defect is best. And you are giving a suture line in the forehead, whereas nasolabial scar won't be seen.
Yes.
It will fall in the nasolabial fold. Why that
And
is not primary?
single stage also.
Yes. I.
Padmalakshmi, you already planned that photo you showed. Actually, the size of the lesion was given earlier 2.5 and the defect was around 3.5 or 4 centimeters. So she has gone for that. So you have planned one more, no?
Yes, ma'am. I have planned the superiorly based nasolabial flap as well, ma'am. Because initially, when I had assessed the defect size, I had brought it to 2.5 across 2.5 centimeters. So when my resection margins came of a 0.5 centimeter, if I was doing, then it would be 3.4. I mean, 3.5 cross 3.5, which is quite a large defect for nasolabial flap to close. So that is why I had planned the paramedian forehead flap. And the history wise for this patient, it is very fastly spreading. So 0.5 centimeter margin is the minimum that I have given. It might require a bigger margin. So that is why I have chosen the paramedian forehead flap.
I was asking you about any other.
What was the point I would like?
Yes.
Regarding margin, if it is rapidly growing for this size, is it recommended to give the margin of 0.5 or 1 centimeter for BCC? Sir?
They give it as a range of 0.5 to 1 centimeter, ma'am. So it is a range. So it is better to go at the higher range compared to a lower range to avoid recurrence. So 0.75 to 1 centimeter can be given as a margin.
I was asking you about any other procedure, single stage.
Yes, sir. Sir, perforator flaps based on the face can be used to cover the nose. Sir. The newer flaps that have been.
I will answer that. I will answer that. See, you can use because I told you it can reach angle of mouth, it can reach nose, it can reach all that upper lip. See, you can raise flap based on the anterior branch of the superficial temporal artery, and by doing a planning in reverse, this long flap can be raised on the vascular pedicle, and the whole thing can be tunneled through the cheek to the nose, upper lip, and angle of mouth
Yes, sir.
in one stage. The
Yes.
dissection is little tedious; it takes little more time,
Yes, sir.
but it's a horizontal flap on the forehead, so it can be sutured primarily the donor side,
Yes,
and the
sir.
whole thing can be tunneled through the cheek to the recipient side.
Yes.
If you are interested, you can see one of my publication is there on this,
Yes, sir.
on
Sure, sir.
angle of mouth and other areas.
Yes, sir.
So that is another possibility. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Good. Very good.
Thank you, sir.
Lateral forehead flap, sir.
Beg pardon?
It's a pedicle
It's
islanded
a
lateral
pedicle
forehead flap.
island flap
Islanded. That's right.
based on the anterior branch of the superficial temporal artery. And in
Padmalakshmi,
Yes, sir.
actually,
no,
in
no.
old age, you can see the anterior and posterior branch in an old age very nicely, and you can palpate it also. You can Doppler it also.
Yes, sir.
So it is a safe flap on variable dimensions.
Yes, sir.
And since it is horizontal, the scar of the donor side is also inconspicuous.
Yes,
Yes.
sir. Yes, sir.
But it is little meticulous, I mean, tedious dissection.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Lakshmi, what is the position of the facial artery and the angular artery vis-a-vis the commissure? Because you should know that when you're actually going to raise a nasolabial flap.
Yes, sir. The facial.
The surface marking as well as the depth.
Yes, sir. So the facial artery, as it reaches the commissure, it will go in the nasolabial fold, and there it will adjacent to the ala, it will divide it into the angular artery and the superior labial artery, and the superior labial artery will give a branch to the septal artery. The dorsal nasal branch ascends in the lateral side wall of the nose, and it has an anastomosis with the angular artery anastomosis with the dorsal nasal artery, which comes from the ophthalmic artery from the superior orbital nerve.
See, obviously, we require to know the surface marking.
Yes, sir.
At the level of the commissure, at the level of the
Yes,
alar base, alar. So where is it? Is it? Can you just tell a number? How many centimeters? I mean, how many millimeters from the alar base you're expecting the facial artery? Similarly, in the commissure level.
So at the commissure level, it will be about a centimeter away, and at
Very
the
good.
alar base,
Yeah.
it will be 1 to 2 mm away. It will be very closer by to the alar.
No, it's actually slightly further lateral than you think. Okay, in which level is it facial artery? Is it in the subcutaneous plane? Is it in the above the muscle?
It is in the subcutaneous plane, so that is why we raise the superior. I'm not sure, sir. I'm not.
Yeah, it's very important because knowing the plane of the vessel is extremely important because you have to include the vessel also. Another way of doing it is actually taking the perforators, and then if it is small defects, you can actually take the perforators and use it as a propeller flap to actually get it to the ala and the edges of the so thin flaps can be raised like that. Right.
You know, it is sometimes very deceiving, the smile of the examiner. You know, he may smile in appreciation, he may smile otherwise also.
Yes, sir.
Don't change your statement quickly. No, sir, I'm not sure.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes.